Hey everyone, it's Michael Zapersky here, and today I'm with Simon Chadwick. Simon, welcome.
Thank you, Michael. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so Simon, you're an expert in the discipline of market research, looking at what you've accomplished and where you spent time. You see market research kind of stamped on many occasions throughout your history. You have over 40 years of experience in guiding and managing all types of companies, including your own firm, Canberra LLC. You're a writer, an author, a speaker, a teacher. And it seems like your interests really extend far outside of business, with an MA in philosophy, politics, and economics, if I got this correct, from Oxford.
That's correct.
So let's just start off. Like, how have you found that your education in those areas has helped you in your entrepreneurial kind of pursuits, if at all?
It's interesting because I was lucky enough to go to Oxford. And while I learned and took a master's in philosophy, politics, and economics, as you rightly said, I think the one thing that they really teach you there is how to think.
Mm.
And so taking that into the business world and really being able to absorb a lot of various and divergent information and thinking about that and trying to work out patterns, that I think was the biggest contributor to what I was able to do in business.
Mm.
And so from there, I mean, like anybody who's gone into market research, it was a complete accident.
Tell us about that. How did you go from that type of educational background in Oxford to getting into market research?
Well, I graduated in the midst of a pretty severe recession, and all my cohorts were going into accounting because it was the only place they could find a job, and I was damned if I would be an accountant. So I was looking for something that would combine maybe the economics of my background with practical application in the world. Really trying to make a difference, I guess, in some ways. And I was reading through a pamphlet from the big soap firm Unilever.
Mm-hmm.
They said they had graduate trainee places, and one of them was in market research. And I thought, well, that sounds interesting. It combines the academic, combines the statistics, but with real life. And so I applied and was lucky enough to get in. And the rest was history.
You also teach. You've taught graduate level courses at universities around the country. Talk to us a little bit about how you found teaching to either help or maybe take away from building a business. And I'm asking this because I've worked with several clients who are consultants and they're working on building their business, but they also have opportunities or are actively already teaching at universities. And often there's some tension between the time that it takes to teach, yet the enjoyment that they get from that. But they are, I think, deep down inside feeling like it's maybe not supporting their business in the best way. So what's been your experience with that?
I haven't experienced that tension as such. I really enjoy teaching, particularly in graduate classes,
Mm-hmm.
where they're there because they really want to be there. And I've taught everything from the basics of market research to actually how insights form within an organization and how they're activated and how to do that. A lot of my training work right now is around that.
Mm.
All the way through to political science. And I actually started out as a teacher in Kenya many years ago. So I think the thing that I really enjoyed was implanting ideas and ways of thinking that could enable people going forward into their lives to apply those ways of looking at issues and problems and data and so on, so that maybe they would bring something of what I had experienced into their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And data literacy today is incredibly important in business. and is lacking in many areas.
Give us an example of that. Like when you say data literacy, what should people be thinking about when you mention that?
Well, I'll give you a very topical example. I don't
Sure.
know if you followed this, but Apple launched a credit card a few months ago, and I believe they asked Goldman Sachs to actually manage it for them, and it was the first card that Goldman Sachs had actually ever managed. And they launched it. They had a very hard push campaign to get people to take the card, and couples were applying each person for the same card using the same data, same exact circumstances. And the men in the couple would be getting credit limits 10 to 20 times that of the women. And the reason was the algorithms that had been used to determine these credit limits were depending on learning and biases that existed in lending along, for years and years and years.
Mm.
And they didn't have the literacy to understand what bias is in data, and how, if you put it into an algorithm, and particularly into machine learning, it's going to get embedded and it's going to grow and get worse and worse and worse.
And how's that credit card going for them now?
I don't think it's going very well. The funny thing is that one of the first people who discovered this was one of the founders of Apple, Steve Wozniak.
Right.
So he got 10 times the credit limit of his wife.
Right. So I'm interested to know, how do you approach managing your time? You run your consulting firm, you're teaching at universities, and you're writing. Just what does your kind of typical day or week look like? How are you able to stay productive?
Well, my consulting work basically takes me to a number of different locations around the world, not necessarily physically, but my time.
Sure.
So, for example, these last 2 years, we were doing a lot of work in India and China. So that means you're either up very early in the morning or you're up very, very late at night, and you're paying attention to those clients at those times. We have our basic client base in the US, but quite a few in Europe as well. So the time zones dictate what I'm doing at any particular time. And where the writing is concerned, I would, if I didn't have calls with China, I'd probably start writing at about 8 o'clock at night, right through till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning.
You're a night owl.
Very much so. And then get up the next morning and it's back into the consulting. And I treat the teaching as very much part and parcel of the consulting. So it's part of my regular work routine.
Got it. So right now within your firm, how many people, like what does your team look like? What does the structure look like within the company?
It's evolved. We started off as 2 people who had an idea based on no research whatsoever.
Which is not surprising given your background in market research.
Right. Exactly. Cobblers and shoes.
Yes.
But it happened to work. And we were doing strategic consulting at the time primarily, and we specialized in the insights industry. But as we sorted people's strategies out, then, as you know, 90% of the success of a good strategy lies in the implementation. And so then they'd come to us, our clients would come to us and say, well, we need to sort out the marketing, or we need to work out the talent side of it, or the financial side of it. And so we grew our practices in those areas and brought in always very, very senior people who had, walked in the shoes of the clients themselves. So
right.
We base our firm very much on our experience and what we've done and what we've faced, not on, business school theory.
Right. And are these full-time people? Are they contractors? How are they kind of structured within the organization?
They were full-time people, and then about 2 years ago, my co-managing partner and I bought all our other partners out, basically because the markets were changing and some of the partners themselves were coming to retirement age. So now we rely much more heavily on a contractor model.
And how does that work for you? How do you actually go about finding qualified people? Because this is a challenge for many consultants. They want to scale up. They want to move away from doing a lot of the deliverables or the actual client work themselves and free themselves up to spend more time on strategy and business development and so forth.
Mm.
But finding good quality people that they can really rely on is often a challenge. What do you do, or what have you found to work best in that area?
Well, we're very lucky in a way because we do specialize in one sector, or at least put it this way, in a sector, the insight sector, and all the supply chain that goes around that.
And when you say insights, just to clarify for everyone, you're talking companies that are doing market research and surveys or coming out with new data. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, and data analytics
Okay.
as well. Yeah, that's the primary focus of what we do.
Okay.
So we know a lot of people in the industry,
Hmm.
and so people tend to come to us, particularly people who maybe have got to their 50s, are fed up with corporate life,
Hmm.
want to get into the consulting business, and we evaluate those very, very carefully. Usually, we know them very well, and if they have a particular fit for what we want to do, we'll bring them in.
Right.
In a third of our business, maybe more, is in actually corporate training. And so we also rely on people we know are really good at that and who
Hmm.
we've had experience of. So that's primarily the way we've gone about it. But one aspect of our business model that I think is probably self-limiting is that we depend on people who have significant experience at very senior levels.
Hmm.
So we have never actually brought in younger consultants to train up inside.
Right.
And I think that ultimately limits the business.
And what's the rationale behind that? Why not build a team, get younger people in, train them the way that you want things done? Um, what's kind of your mindset around that decision?
It's really in our brand image, if you like, our brand value, what people really see in us, which is these guys, they've they've got the same scars on their backs as we do.
Hmm.
And we want people who've been in that position. We don't want a 30-year-old telling us what to do,
Right.
or doing the grunt work,
Right.
because essentially we're buying your experience.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's a really good point. It's always interesting to hear consultants who see their size as a negative, and talking about, well, there's larger companies, more established companies. How can I compete with them?
Mm,
This buyer would never do business with me. They can, they're going to go to Deloitte or whoever, McKinsey. But what you've just hit on is a real competitive advantage, which is that a buyer, a client, is not going to pay. When they pay a McKinsey or whoever else it is, they're essentially paying a junior person to learn about the business and the industry. And what you're really doing is bringing people who are seasoned. So how do you deal with compensating the people that you work with? Are you using an hourly basis and charging the margin between what you're getting paid and what you're paying someone else? Or are you doing it on a project, like a flat fee? Just to kind of walk us through what a typical
mm.
project would look like from a compensation perspective.
Well, if it's a training project, which are the largest, well, the, they're the largest projects we do, apart from when we sell a company and get a success fee.
Right.
I'll come to that later. But on a training project, we would usually work out what the need is and then negotiate a fixed price contract.
Okay.
And that works very well because then, the temptation to lay on sort of nice work is avoided.
Right. Right.
When
Simon, if I can just jump in for a second, because sometimes consultants are concerned about, setting projects, flat fee. The concern is, well, what if we don't see certain things? What if we've underestimated, the work that we need to do? So how do you arrive at a number that you feel confident on? And especially when it's not just you that's going to be providing the work, it's someone else. And if it goes over, it means that you likely are going to be the one that's going to have to pay the difference or go back to the client and kind of renegotiate. So what's
Yeah.
been your experience with that?
Well, as I say, this is really what we do on the training side, where we have a very, very good idea of what it's going to take, because we're bringing in essentially modules that are 90% pre-baked, and we're customizing them to our clients. If we're doing a strategic consulting job, then it will be hourly.
It will be, okay.
And it will be hourly, and we'll agree an hourly rate, and we pay 1 month in arrears.
Got it. And can you share roughly what the margin is, the difference between what you might be earning from a client and what a consultant might make when they work with you?
It's usually in the area of it goes anywhere from 50% to 75%.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you have one form of work where you are paid a success fee. Talk to us a little bit about what that looks like and when you're using that.
Yeah, so we have three primary planks to the business. One is strategic and operational consulting. The second is training, and the third is mergers and acquisitions brokerage. So we primarily sell. We also do acquisitions, but primarily sell research and analytics and technology companies around the world. This is a fast consolidating sector industry. Right. So again, the reason that people come to us is because we know pretty much all the players around the world, and we know what actually makes for value. And in those cases, we work to an hourly fee, a fairly low one, because we want to encourage people to come in. But there is a significant success fee at the end of the transaction. And
the success fee is based on what?
The success fee is based on the selling price of the company.
Got it. And so the mergers and acquisitions, this is still related specifically to the insights industry.
It is. That's right.
Got it. Okay. Just want to make that clear, because I think to some people that might listen and go, well, you're offering very different kinds of services, but for you, I guess the central hub is that it's still all connected to the insights industry.
That's right. So again, because we know most of the players, we know most of those who are serial buyers, if you like.
Right.
And we understand intuitively what makes for a good prospect. And what makes for a good sale, is a good company to sell. We basically don't need to learn the ropes. It's exactly the same concept again. We've done this in our own corporate lives many, many times. We've bought and we've sold, and so we can do this for people, and we don't have to learn the ropes.
Right. So we've talked about that you are able to attract, consultants, contractors into your organization that are essentially doing a lot of the work for you. And that's because you're well established in this industry. People know your name. You've kind of been around the block a few times. Talk to us a little bit about how you now actually go out and generate new leads and opportunities and business. What's working best for you right now, or what are the maybe top 3 things that stand out for you that have the biggest impact when it comes to new leads and new opportunities for the pipeline?
Yeah, so that's a really good point, because I think in this business, at least in the specialized sort of business that we are, going out in a sales mode is often not terribly productive, and also sometimes not very well received.
What do you mean by that? Just to clarify.
But if I were to call you up and go, hey, Michael, long time since you've talked to me, surely you must have, some stuff you need me to do. You've got problems. Yeah, you're probably going to say, no, I don't think so. So what we've done over the years is we've actually built up a body of knowledge, and I think one of your guests, it was Jono Bacon.
Yep, John
I
Bacon.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, he was talking about the value of knowledge, bringing knowledge into a consulting relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do a number of studies every year on what's happening in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go out and we talk at a lot of conferences. We do seminars, we do symposiums, we write articles. I'm also editor in chief of a magazine in the industry. So we are known as the go-to people if you want to know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what brings our clients to us.
Okay. So Simon, now there's inevitably going to be someone who goes, well, that's why you're successful, is because you have all of that. But of
Yeah.
course, going back several years, right, or many years, that wasn't all in place. So for someone who's listening right now, watching right now, going, okay, that sounds amazing. How do I get to that place? Was it just about reaching out to different events and conferences and saying, hey, we've done this study, I'd love to come and talk? Or was there some other path that you took to start to establish your footprint and presence in the industry?
I think, we did do, I think initially, it is going back 16 years now, uh, we did initially do quite a lot of mail outs and newsletters, and each newsletter had tidbits of information or data or hints or
Mm-hmm,
whatever.
mm-hmm.
And this was kind of pre-internet, well, not pre-internet, but early internet.
Okay.
Um,
So you're sending this out in print, like print newsletters or
yeah,
print materials to
yeah,
people,
yeah,
and so it had valuable information in it, industry related, and you were
right.
saying this to your ideal clients.
Yes.
And
So
how did that work for you?
that worked pretty well. We grew. The first year I think we did $90,000. The second year $300,000. It grew and fairly nicely, but it was really at the point that we then started to do these studies.
Mm-hmm.
We would blag our way onto any conference platform we could find, and luckily me and the other partners were pretty good on their feet. And people would then come to us afterwards. It could take anywhere from a couple of weeks to a couple of years. And they'd say, I saw you at such and such.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think I've got something you can help us with.
It's that forward motion that's just so important. The fact that you're just getting out there, and it wasn't necessarily just one place that you spoke at, but you and your team, multiple places, multiple touch points. I share this example of our one client that signed up, and he said to us when he came to one of our events that I'd been on your list for 3 years. I never bought anything from you. And then all of a sudden, one day, 3 years later, he decided to become a client and ended up becoming a 6-figure client. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because, I thought when he mentioned that, like, well, that's why we send out a newsletter. That's why we do these things, is that if we looked at him and said, yeah, he hasn't been responsive, he hasn't even bought a book from us, he hasn't bought anything, it's been 1 year or 2 years or X number of months and given up, then that would have been, a lucrative sale that would not have
Would not
happened.
have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you just got to keep on being in front of people, keep on having them trust in you. And that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
The trust is absolutely massive. We, I've got a similar story. I was approached by a major credit card company end of last year. And the lady who approached me said, I saw you, you gave a seminar at a conference 2.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at a CPG company then, and I tried to convince them to use you, but somehow it never happened. And now I'm in this credit card company and we can use you. Yay.
Yeah. Right.
2.5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. It's those little things that add up, and you keep having little ones like that. You're planting those seeds,
Yeah.
right? You're kind of watering the flowers, and they're gonna bloom for you. But if you're not doing that consistently, then you're not going to have a thriving pipeline. When you look back, Simon, over the last couple of decades here or so of being in business and building up consulting businesses, and I know that even before your business, you were a CEO of other companies. From a consulting standpoint, what do you wish that you would have known in the early days that knowing now in hindsight, like you just go, yeah, that would have made such a difference. I wish I would have done that.
That's a really, really good question. The interesting thing is that I've learned more being a consultant than I ever knew as a CEO. And if I knew then what I know now, I'd have been a damn sight better CEO. But at the beginning, I think it was really about building a brand that was consistent, that had a story to it that was consistent. And I think at the beginning, and maybe for the first 2 or 3 years, we were a little bit too much everything to all people. And it was only when we really, really focused down that we became really successful.
Yeah. So, I mean, such a powerful point, and I think really a principle of success in this business. The common sense tells many people, you can go wide, you have so many skills, there's so many different kinds of people that you can help and apply your knowledge. But it's very hard when you have limited resources, which is what most of us have, because we're not, a $1 billion organization, to do that, to use the resource that we have effectively for targeting multiple different industries or people. It means that you have to have different messaging, different offers. It just creates a lot of complexity. So I'm glad that you shared that that's also been your experience, because I know it's been the same for many other people.
Yeah, and I think there was another lesson that we learned as well, which is don't assume that because you've just got one type of assignment that there are any more of those like that out there. So I'll give you
please,
because you have to remain. My point being, you have to remain agile and basically shape your offering so that people could buy it.
Right.
So we got a 9-month assignment to completely and utterly reinvent the insights and competitive intelligence function of a major phone company. It was a huge assignment. It was really a lot of fun. We were very successful. We thought, whoa, we can do this. We'll go out and we'll market ourselves as people who can, reinvent your insights function.
Right.
We never got one again.
Why do you think that is?
Because it essentially, it only occurs when a new CMO comes in and says, I need something different, or when a new SVP of Insights comes in and says, I need to completely reshape this.
Right.
Those things don't happen very often.
Right.
But what we did learn was, hey, if we chunked this up into different learning modules, different training modules, and made them, biteable, bite size, then maybe we can go into these same companies. And that was hugely successful. And
with the training, when you broke those down to kind of bite-sized training modules or components that you or your team could deliver, did you approach those companies and say, hey, we have this training, is it something that would be or workshop, something be of interest to you? Or again, did you kind of just do your speaking, writing thing, studies, and then people came to you and then you offered it to them? We did a bit of both. But I think it's probably true to say that a lot of word of mouth was involved. So essentially, if you go in and you do a really good training assignment, and some of these training assignments can take 2-3 years. Okay. So we're not talking about a one-day workshop and $5,000 or $10,000 later.
No, we're talking 6 figures.
Right.
But if you do a really good job, then, our clients get together and they talk about things that they've done, and you then get a call out of the blue.
Right.
But in many ways, what we did was we built seminars, so multi-client seminars, charged a very low amount for them.
Like
so
what would be the amount, just roughly?
$1,000 a head.
Okay.
But to come in for a day and experience, some of the training, we'd get 15 or 20 people in a room from different industries.
How did you market that? Was it sending emails, making phone calls, posting on LinkedIn or something, or
all of the above?
Okay.
All of the above. But also through our supply side clients as well, because they all have corporate clients.
Mm,
So we'd get them to organize a seminar of their clients, and then we'd come in. And for those for those supply side clients, that was a huge marketing boom for them,
mm,
because they're now seen to be providing a free service to their
right.
client.
So they would pay you,
Yes.
and would they pay you maybe a discounted rate? So if the typical was 1,000, would they pay you, for example, like 800 or something, or would they just pay the full price?
No, they would get a very discounted rate.
Okay.
So, we'd have 15 people in a room and maybe charge 5 or 7,000 to
To
our
the client,
client.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, but it's a value
Um,
add for them. They get their
yeah.
clients together. They're providing this free experience, which again is very valuable and
Yeah.
appreciated by their clients. And then, did that lead to business opportunities for you from doing that?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, again, you're probably looking at 1 in 10, 1 in 15
Right,
who become a business opportunity, and it may take a year, 2 years.
right.
So you have to have this great patience. But and the other thing that we very successfully did, and this was one of my partners who thought this up, was to approach trade associations and offer to do webinar series of the
Mm-hmm.
training modules to their members.
Mm-hmm.
And that, again, a relatively low price to the association because they don't have a lot of money usually.
Right,
But that then spread the word because a lot of people experienced it online.
right. Got
Yeah.
it. Well, Simon, that's some really great information. I appreciate you sharing it here. And I just want to take a moment because you published a book recently called For the People. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about what that book is kind of the topic of it. And then I also want to find out from you where people can go to learn more about the book and you as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it has nothing to do with market research, data analytics, or anything like that.
Okay.
This is returning to my roots. This is a political science book, you could call it, I guess. As you and I were chatting before, I grew up in South Africa during the apartheid years, and I have very first-hand experience of what it's like to live in a totalitarian society.
Mm,
My father was a major anti-apartheid activist, um, and I've worked in other countries of that nature as well. As we have been proceeding in the last few years, I have started to notice telltale signals of same things happening here.
mm,
And so instead of sort of throwing my hands up, I decided that I would actually write a book about how we could have a different sort of system and a system of society and government that would work much better for everybody. And I did that through the lens of Maslow's hierarchy.
got it. And where can
Um,
people go to learn more about your book?
they can go on, so they can go to my website, which is simonchadwick.us. It's also on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. And if you've got a really great bookstore, probably in there too. But it's a manifesto, basically.
Got it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we'll make sure to have all that linked up and link to your website as well in the show notes. So Simon, again, thank you so much for coming on.
It's been a real pleasure, Michael. Thank you very much.